Man, I need a haircut. Hello everyone! Today we're going to be ranking all the Star Wars movies, like the title says. At least all 11 live-action, theatrically released Star Wars movies. So the plan is today, I rank them all, and then in the coming months, I rewatch all of them, and I give you guys an in-depth review for each Star Wars movie, and we're going to be doing it chronologically. So start with The Phantom Menace and end with The Rise of Skywalker. And so, yeah, without further ado, let's jump into my list. I do want to hear in the comments down below, how do you guys rank these movies? But without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with number 11. Number 11 is obviously The Rise of Skywalker. It is just the worst overall movie, Star Wars movie, everything on this list. There's no movie in here that comes close. Like, some people maybe think, oh, but the Attack of the Clones is so terrible. Attack of the Clones is not a good movie, but my God, it's so much better than Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker tried to jumble just so many things together, and nothing worked at all. Like, nothing at all was fun in that movie. I mean, it looked good. I guess you could say that. The special effects were good for the most part, but they had no clue what they wanted to do with all these different characters. Nothing made sense. The ending with Rey taking down Palpatine, they brought back Palpatine, and all the stuff that has come up behind the scenes of it has made it even funnier. Stuff that we already knew as fans, but it just got confirmed. Like, when Kathleen Kennedy first came out and was like, oh, it was the plan from the beginning for Palpatine to be behind it all, and to be Rey's granddad. We knew that wasn't true. Everyone knew that wasn't true. But then it got confirmed by Daisy Ridley coming out and being like, oh yeah, that wasn't true. By her coming out and saying that, yeah, they had no clue what they wanted to do with Rey. And it was very obvious. But this movie is just a garbled mess. It's terrible. That's why it's number 11. And next up at number 10 is The Force Awakens. I've been saying it since it first came out. This movie is terrible. You had a lot of people that loved it when it first came out. People still love it. It's still the most beloved out of the sequel trilogy. Not saying much, but still. But from the get-go, when the movie first came out, I talked about how I did not like it. This movie's sort of been Phantom Menace in terms of how when the Phantom Menace came out, you had a lot of people that loved that movie, and then through the coming years, people were like, it turns out that movie wasn't very good. You know, people when it first came out, like, yeah, Star Wars back, this is amazing. And then through the coming years, people were like, you know, the Phantom Menace wasn't that great. Same with Force Awakens. It came out, people were like, yes, this isn't the prequels, this is just like A New Hope, it's great. And then through the coming years after that, people went more towards, yeah, it's not that great. You still have a lot of people that love it, that being said, but I was not one of those people that, like, through the years was like, oh, it's suddenly not good. It was never good. I hate that movie. It is just a terrible version of A New Hope with characters I don't care about, and they reset some things. Like, they're like, what if Han was the exact way he was when we first found him in A New Hope, and we undid all his character development? It's like, I don't want that at all. I don't think anyone did. The movie's just really boring and takes no risks, and Rey just gets out of everything by herself. Like, you know, they show up on the light Death Star place, whatever it's called, Starkiller Base. They show up there and they're like, hey, we're here to save Rey, and then Rey's like already escaped by herself, and like, oh, turns out she didn't need us, just like the rest of the movie. It's really bad. Again, like The Rise of Skywalker, it looks pretty, but the movie sucks. Number 9 is The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi, I think, sucks, but a lot of people disagree with me in the fact that I think it's the best out of the sequel trilogy. As much as it is terrible, at least it takes some risk, at least it does some original things. The Force Awakens is just very bland and boring, and the characters suck. The Rise of Skywalker is very much just they had no clue what they wanted to do to end the trilogy, and it was very much like J.J. Abrams trying to piss on what Rian Johnson did, because Rian Johnson pissed on what J.J. Abrams did, so it was two guys like limp dick fighting essentially. So that was fun. And so in this, but for me, The Last Jedi wasn't as bad as the other. It was still terrible. Don't get me wrong. I still never want to watch it again. I'm just going to do it for the video. But if I didn't make videos, I'd never watch The Last Jedi again. But there's still some interesting aspects of it. Like when Rey and Kylo would Force Skype, I thought those moments were interesting. As much as if you break it down technically, the throne scene is very bad from like a stuntman technical point of view. You got to turn your brain off and just be like, lightsabers, because then if you do that, it's actually fun to watch. Like, the first time you watch it, it's cool, but then the following like times you watch it, it's not that good, because there's a lot of dumb things. Like, the guy's got Rey here, she drops her lightsabers, the guy's like, guess I gotta let go of Rey, and there's a lot of dumb stuff like that, and the timing's off. But that being said, first time you watched it, it was cool. I'm trying to justify why it's above the other two movies, but there's not a whole lot to justify with it. There's just, so I like that that in that, at least, Rian Johnson had the idea to make Rey a nobody. I think that's good. I think her being connected to any other lineage is dumb, like they did in the Rise of Skywalker. I was happy that she was a nobody. I thought basically everything that was done in Throne with Snoke was pretty cool. I like that. A lot of people were like, "Why'd you kill Snoke so early?" I thought it was good. I was like, "Yes, I'm happy about that." But that's about it for the good things. The rest of the movie sucks. Everything on Canto Bight was abysmal. Rose Tico is one of the worst characters in all of Star Wars. The dialogue at a lot of parts is just not good. It's not good. It's very, very bad. Like that ending, it makes no sense how Finn has, like, in the movie's logic, it makes no sense. Finn has a head start on Rose, but then she's just able to catch up to him and take him out, and she tries to kill him when he's trying to save everyone. I've went into it before, but the way Luke acts doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Movie's not good. Moving on to number 9. Number 9 is Attack of the Clones. Now, again, there will be people be like, how do you rank that movie above the sequel trilogy? That movie is so bad. There's so much dumb stuff in that movie. Yeah, there is a lot of dumb stuff. It's not a good movie. It's not a movie that I watch very often. I don't even remember the last time I watched it. It's been a long time. But that being said, there are still moments in there that I much prefer than any moment in any of the sequel trilogy. Obi-Wan tracking down Jango Fett is legitimately interesting to me. I like when he, like, a lot of the stuff on Kamino, and I think Kamino's a dope-looking planet, something that we didn't really get in the sequel trilogy. Basically, every planet was like, oh, that's like Yavin, but it's not Yavin. That's like Tatooine, but it's not called Tatooine. Like, that's basically the entirety of the sequel trilogy planets. It's just like, that looks exactly what we've seen before, except a different name. To where with Attack of the Clones, we got some cool new planets like Kamino. I thought Kamino was cool. I thought the cloners were interesting. I was kind of into that backstory, and Dooku was cool. I really liked Dooku, actually. I thought Christopher Lee did a great job as Dooku. And again, the stuff on Kamino for the most part is pretty interesting to me. Jango Fett was badass. I hated Boba Fett. Young Boba Fett was terrible, and what they did with Boba Fett's origin was awful, and I hated that. But Jango Fett and Obi-Wan's fight was cool on Kamino as well. And also you got the fight with the spaceship fight where you get the freaking bombs that Jango Fett lets out and make that like orgasmic noise, and it's just it's the best. Seeing all the Jedi actually fight in the arena was kind of cool, because even though it was just a bunch of CGI like dumbness, it was still cool because of the fact that that's what these movies promised, was we'd see the Jedi in their prime, and we hadn't really got that up to this point, and we finally got it. It was like, yes, we get to see all the Jedi fighting together. That was cool. The clones were kind of cool. Honestly, when they're chasing down the opening is great when they're chasing down that bounty hunter. Never mind the dumb freaking worms on the bed. That was really stupid. But the back and forth between Obi-Wan and Anakin I liked, even though Hayden Christensen was very wooden with his delivery and stuff, and the dialogue's not the best. I still like their back and forth and their rapport that they had together, especially when they're on the speeder and Anakin just freaking balls out, jumps off the speeder. I thought that was great, and I like their chase scene in Coruscant. Now, everything involving Anakin and Padme is just awful and terrible and cringy, and the majority of the movie's bad and hard to watch. But it has much more good moments than the sequel trilogy. On to number 7, which is Solo. Solo is one of those movies that is like about a straight 5 out of 10 for me. It's like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good by any means either. The guy, I can't remember his name, the guy that played Han Solo looked and sounded nothing like Harrison Ford, so that was kind of weird. This was a movie that I don't think anyone asked for, and I definitely didn't want, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be going into it. The one chick that, like, at the beginning it's like, oh, she's the bad guy, but then it turns out she's like a 14-year-old like ginger kid, and it turns out she's the good guy. That aspect of the movie was really dumb. And my main problem with this movie is, one, it didn't need to happen, no one asked for it, it was just dumb, and 2 was the fact that they have Han learn the same lesson that he learns in the original trilogy. So you're taking all this stuff that we learned from the original trilogy, and you're having him learn it prior to the original trilogy, and then you're resetting him for A New Hope, acting like Solo didn't happen, which is how I would like to live in a universe where the Solo didn't happen. But that being said, it was dumb. There were some good moments. I like when Han and Chewie met. There was some good stuff between Han and Chewie. I honestly don't remember a whole lot about this movie. I'm trying to think. I can't remember much about it, but so I'm going off of like when I saw it. Last time I saw it was in theaters. The freaking robot was dumb. I don't remember her name. There just wasn't a whole lot that I hated about it, so that was kind of why it wasn't that terrible. The chick from Game of Thrones is hot in it, so there's that. it was just a meh movie. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. It was just meh. And again, my biggest gripe is the fact that they put him through the same story arc that he goes through in the original trilogy. So that was really stupid of them to do. Moving on to number 6, which is The Phantom Menace. Now, The Phantom Menace is a movie that when I was a kid, I liked it, and then the older I got, the more I watched it, I was like, this movie is boring, it sucks, which is weird, because you think it might be the opposite, because there's so much talking in The Phantom Menace. But, man, there's just some cool moments in there. I love Obi-Wan's my favorite Star Wars character, so seeing a prime Obi-Wan was cool. Darth Maul was cool, obviously. The final fight is amazing, especially once Qui-Gon dies, because it ramps up to like 11 once Qui-Gon dies. It's so awesome. Story-wise, there's not a whole lot of great things in here. The pod racing scene is cool. There's just some cool stuff, but there's not a whole lot of good story elements. Again, if Solo's a 5, Phantom Menace is like a 5.3 or maybe 5.5. Like, that's how, if I was rating these things, that's about how it would be. But we got to see more of the Jedi for the first time, which was cool. And again, Darth Maul pod racing in the final fight scene. And I kind of like some stuff with Qui-Gon, even though he's kind of dull and boring. There were some interesting things with Qui-Gon. Number 5 is Rogue One. This is where we hit where the movies are actually good. Every movie prior to this, I would say, is not a good movie. There are elements of some of them that I enjoy, but I wouldn't say they were good movies. Now, for Rogue One and up, I enjoy all these movies. I thought Rogue One was really good. Again, some people complain about the character development. I can see that, but it is an ensemble movie, and it's not like Avengers to where, you know, we got a solo movie for each character, and then we got to the ensemble, so we knew all of them. But it didn't bother me too much because the characters I really cared about, Cassian and Jyn, we got them pretty fleshed out, and it was cool seeing more of the war aspect of Star Wars instead of just everything's about the Jedi and Sith. We got to see more of, like, here's the guys on the ground. I wasn't the biggest fan of the whole, like, we intentionally put this thing in this Death Star plans so that way there would be a vulnerability. I wasn't the biggest fan of that because I like Max Landis. I know Max Landis got canceled or whatever, but anyways, Max Landis made a great point before talking about how he thought that the whole, like, you know, the vent into the Death Star or whatever was more of an oversight, like, to the Empire being like, we're so powerful, who's gonna make that shot, who's gonna, like, what, do you want to be the one to tell Darth Vader that we have to restart construction on the Death Star all over again because of one little thing? No one's ever gonna be able to do that. Like, sort of just an oversight like a lot of powerful regimes have had in real life, and I like that aspect of it better than just, like, sort of going back and retroactively being like, oh, it turns out it was on purpose the whole time. I didn't mind it too much, but it was a little gripe. But yeah, I thought Rogue One was cool and it was a new perspective from the Star Wars universe, and I liked it. And obviously, Vader in the final scene was awesome. That was cool. That definitely, like, brings it up when you come out of the theater. I'd say, because when I went and watched the movie, up until the Vader scene, I was like, this movie's, like, it's good. It's like a 7 out of 10. I'm enjoying it. And the Vader scene happens, and you come out of the theater, and you're like, the best movie I've ever seen. And then you, like, die down, and you think about the movie. You're like, okay, it's actually still, like, around a 7. But that movie gets you so hyped coming out of the theater when the music's playing and Vader's just killing everyone. Has nothing to do with, like, the rest of the movie, but it's cool. But, yeah, Rogue One was good. I enjoyed it. Number 4 is Revenge of the Sith. I love Revenge of the Sith. It has a lot of the quirky campiness of the prequels, but it also has a much better story element, much better characters, and the acting's a little better as well. Hayden Christensen bumped it up a notch because in Attack of the Clones he didn't do too great. Again, it's not all his fault. We've seen before that George Lucas is not the greatest director when it comes to directing people. That's just not really his forte. So unless you're like an amazing actor on your own, like Ewan McGregor, you're not, like, even Natalie Portman, who's an amazing actress, we saw that with George Lucas, she didn't do very good. So I don't really put all the blame on Hayden Christensen. I'm just saying he did much better in Revenge of the Sith than he did in Attack of the Clones. But that being said, Revenge of the Sith just definitely felt like a very epic finale to the prequels. It was a really good movie. I enjoyed, again, the back and forth between Obi-Wan and Anakin. It has one of the best openings in the entire, in like any of the Star Wars movies. I love that opening of them taking Grievous's ship and how everything plays out from there. It's done really well. Order 66, I think everything to do with Order 66 was really good. That whole montage, and like, just, it looks great. Even though like all of it's CGI, it looks really good. And the music, this arguably to me, I would say probably Revenge of the Sith has the best put together soundtrack of any Star Wars movie. I would say, like, the music does a great job. Like, in all the Star Wars movies, it's not really used too well in the sequel trilogy. Nothing on John Williams, but the implementation of it and, like, the directing and the editing mixed with the music, it just didn't really do it for me. But I would say the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack probably enhances the movie more than any of the other Star Wars movies, at least to me. I think it's just put together so well and how it's implemented into the movie. It's so good. When Battle of the Heroes plays Dun, 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 dun. It's so good. You just get into it, and yeah, it's just an epic finale to the prequels, and it was really good. It was the only legitimately good prequel in my opinion. There are still those dumb moments, like when Padme's on the balcony and the whole "I'm so in love with you" thing. Now you have those moments, but for every one of those, you have Order 66, and just yeah, it's a good movie. It's solid. I still enjoy it, even going back and watching to this day. There are like the cringy stuff. There's the corny stuff, but it's still a really good movie and I enjoy it. And then number 3 is A New Hope. I love A New Hope. I think it's great, but the reason I would say it's probably my least favorite out of the original trilogy is up until you meet Han on Tatooine, rewatching that stuff isn't the greatest. Like when it comes to rewatchability, like it's kind of slow. It's still really good because it's all world building, but when you've seen the movie like 50 times, it's like, okay, let's just get to Han and let's get to Han in the cantina because all this stuff I've already seen. I get the world building, I know, but there's still like great moments in there. Obviously, it's just when you've seen it so many times, that stuff wears on you a bit. But the movie's great. The characters are great. There's not much I need to really say about the original trilogy. Number 2 is Return of the Jedi, a movie that I've talked before that I think does not get the love it deserves from Star Wars fans. For some reason, people are like, the Ewoks ruined the entire movie. Why are you focusing on the Ewoks so much? Yeah, there's some dumb stuff with the Ewoks, but I like the Ewoks. I like the movie itself. It's great. The opening, again, one of the best openings in any Star Wars movie. This and Revenge of the Sith, probably, man, Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith are like probably neck and neck for the best opening overall opening for Star Wars, like opening sequence, because man, on the sail barge, music playing, dun, 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 and then he freaking goes down, he comes up, grabs the lightsaber from R2 and just starts baseball batting dudes with no finesse or technique at all, freaking force kicking guys. It is awesome. It's so cool. And the rest of the movie's great. Everything to do in the throne room is just fantastic. It's some of the best in all of Star Wars. And you also get probably my favorite line in Star Wars when Luke's talking to the Emperor. And he says he's a Jedi like his father before him. It's so good. Like it's everything there. Everything in the throne room is amazing. And I like the stuff on Endor too. The speeder bike chase, even though it hasn't aged too well because of effects and everything have gotten a lot better since then. It's still a cool chase. Yeah, the Ewoks were a little dumb, but you get the whole like element they were going there of the big technological empire being taken down by these low-tech natives of a planet that like they looked over and they didn't even think about. Like you get the story aspect there, but yeah, it looks a little dumb. Whatever. Still, Return of the Jedi. I almost said Revenge of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is much better than people give it credit for, in my opinion. But my number 1 is Empire Strikes Back. It's my favorite movie of all time, not just my favorite Star Wars movie. It's so good. There's not much at all I would change about that movie. That's like, man, like each aspect of the movie you think about, you're like, that is done perfectly. There's not much I would change there. I think it's done really well. Bespin is such a cool planet. The opening on Hoth is great. Everything about this movie is just so cool. I love it. I love the movie, all the characters and the progression we get from Luke being this sort of just whiny farm boy to the second one, sort of to Empire Strikes Back, sort of trying to figure things out, training with Yoda on Dagobah. It's such a good movie. But that's it. That's how I ranked all 11 live-action theatrically released Star Wars movies. Please let me know in the comments below how you guys rank them. And again, over the coming months, I'm going to be rewatching each of these and then doing a more in-depth review on them. So look forward to that. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.